Now, WGN political analyst Paul Lisnek, host of the Political Report on Sunday mornings.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Tanya and Sean. You know, it's worth noting last night, something we've never seen for any Supreme Court justice before, crowds gathering in front of the Supreme Court singing Imagine Amazing Grace. And of course, this is Rosh Hashanah, and so they were also reciting the Mourner's Kaddish for Justice Ginsburg, who is Jewish, a very powerful scene.
Yeah, she was more than just a Supreme Court justice. She had a long history, a long track record in fighting for equality before she made it to the bench. One of the few justices who actually argued before the Supreme Court, before taking her seat on the Supreme Court. So she has this sort of iconic status of just being a crusader for rights, civil rights.
She does. In fact, she began to make a difference in the court once she was first admitted to practice and was very shortly after submitting briefs to the Supreme Court on cases. There is something, you know, regardless of political leaning, when it comes to Justice Ginsburg, there was something about her that reached across, certainly to women, certainly to young women who looked at her and said, anything is possible for any of us. She herself was really thrown by all this attention she got, the whole notorious RBG, which she did get a kick out of. I did have a chance. I've met her a few times, and so we've talked about some of this stuff. But you know, people would put tattoos of themselves. I'm sorry, tattoos of her on themselves. All these things. Some of that she didn't understand, but she certainly understood this rock star status she had acquired. Always wondering why so many people wanted to stand in line to take their picture with her.
Paul's, Ruth Bader Ginsburg really transcended what we see now in politics. Across the bench, she reached across the ideological aisle to form friendships, and Antonin Scalia was among them. They obviously had much different visions of how the Constitution was interpreted. But talk about how that will play a legacy with the justices that remain there on the court in the future.
Sean, that is something I talked to Justice Ginsburg about because it just confused everybody. How could somebody so diametrically opposed to you politically be your best friend? And they were best friends. They spent New Year's Eve together, the Ginsburgs and the Scalias. They traveled together. Scalia would try and make her laugh while sitting on the bench, literally quietly, and he was often successful at that. Her answer to that was, he's the funniest person I know. They both loved opera. And she also said, look, I understand people see us being different on key issues like abortion and certain kinds of civil rights cases. She said, but on over 90% of the cases we have to deal with on the Supreme Court, we agree. She said cases like trademark and patent and tax, nobody cares about, but we are often in agreement. She says it's those cases people hear about that last week of the term, the big ones that we disagreed, but her essentially love and admiration for him knew no boundaries. Scalia, by the way, felt the same way. There was a time that he had a couple of dozen roses on her desk and said to a friend, I need to bring these down to Ruth's chambers. And the friend said, wow, I've never even given my wife 24 roses. How do you do this for somebody you're so different from? And Scalia said, sometimes you go beyond political views.
So, you know, the thing is now, Paul, I felt this last night, you know, you want to mourn her, you want to mourn her legacy, but the reality is we are in a politically charged season. The election is coming up, and apparently Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself mentioned to her granddaughter and may have left some type of a writing or a letter saying that she wanted her replacement to be named by the next president. She wanted the next president to do it, whether that be Trump if he's reelected or Biden if he is elected. You know, how does this all play out? And I want to put up a quote, if we have it, you guys, from Mitch McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell, back when President Obama was in the same position. He was looking to replace Antonin Scalia, and Senator Mitch McConnell at the time said the American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. And it was not. He had put up Merrick Garland. They did not vote on him. His nomination kind of lingered. Now we're in a position where Mitch McConnell says, oh, no. We're actually going to vote on whoever the president puts up.
Tanya, I need an hour and a half to answer that question because it's so critical and so important. But here at least are some critical things about that. Number one, the statement Justice Ginsburg dictated to her granddaughter a couple days before her death, which is
Uh-oh. I think you've frozen there,
does
Paul.
not be seated.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Go.
okay.
You're good.
As I said, a lot to say about that, and that first of all, the statement that Justice Ginsburg issued to her granddaughter and then NPR published was, "It is my most fervent wish that a replacement will not be a name for me until a new president is seated." That has no legal weight whatsoever, but it certainly is going to get Democrats going, or people who believed in her, to say her last wish must be honored. With regard to the McConnell comment, look, there is no question that McConnell at that time, with 11 months to go before the next election, decided that there could be no nomination within the final year of a presidential term. Well, that was then. McConnell has stated, even just weeks or a couple of months ago, that if presented with an opportunity to fill a Supreme Court vacancy at any time before the end of a Trump term, he basically said, we will fill it. So that's what he plans to do. But it is very complicated, and I know I have to be careful on time here, so I'll simply right now juxtapose it with something that Lindsey Graham said back around that same time that McConnell said it, when Lindsey Graham said, I will probably be chair of the Judicial Committee if there's a Republican president, and he is, and he said, you could hold me to my word. If there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court in the last year of whoever the president's term is, we will not take it up. And he went on to say, you could hold my words against me. Lindsey Graham's in a very tough re-election contest against Jamie Harrison in South Carolina. You can be sure Mr. Harrison will have those words in an ad playing in South Carolina, and we're going to see whether Lindsey Graham eats those words or whether he finds a way to say, look, I meant what I said and we're not taking it up. Good luck to him trying to do that under the pressure of Leader McConnell.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. We'll see you back here in about an hour. You can always read more about Ginsburg's life at WGNTV.com and get breaking news updates from our free WGN News app.